Shar Watson.
Dominate. 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 Dominate.
Welcome. We on episode 9, and we have a special guest, my sister in Christ, Sister Shonda Russian. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
You doing pretty good?
Yeah, glad to be here with my little brother.
That's good. I'm happy that you showed up for me.
Yeah, I like this.
Okay, you like the vibe?
I love the vibe.
The ambiance,
this
as
is
they
you.
say? This is me?
This you.
I told you I like to do stuff in excellence.
It is.
Okay, so before we get started, this is the Prodigal Son podcast. We are found on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. My name is Vincent Warren, and we rolling. And of course, we dominating. So, Sister Shonda, man, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, it's been a talkative kind of Saturday.
Talkative Saturday.
Yeah.
So you've been talking to a lot of people today, huh?
Been podcasting all day.
Podcasting all day?
All day.
Is this like your normal Saturday?
It is. My normal Saturday mornings is a podcast for a couple of hours with my other little brother.
Okay.
And,
My kin.
yeah.
My kin.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, like I said, I always give flowers when I start off. I appreciate you just being who you are. I appreciate you just, from me, the other podcast, you gave me words of wisdom, words of encouragement when I was going through the worst times of my life. You feel me? Like,
Yeah.
it ain't over, but I still, them words stuck to me. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Again, I love you. And I just appreciate everything that you've done.
Thank you.
And I read your book.
Uh-oh.
I read
Okay.
your book. I have read your book. What if I win?
What if I win?
And when I tell you, I called Brocky yesterday and said her book is amazing.
Thank you.
Like, when I say so many jewels on there, that, like, I'm a wordplay type of cat. And your wordplay on there is just so phenomenal. Like, I copied and pasted stuff to my phone. Like, man, what? I'm going to bring some stuff up to you so we can talk about it.
Well, let's talk about it. You know, but the thing about it is that's real. Like, it's nonfiction.
Okay.
You know, the stuff that you see and read, that's my life.
Okay.
For real.
Mm-hmm.
I think that so many people are fake, and you get to this level, whether you're in ministry or doing a podcast, and people see you and hear you, they don't know who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to know exactly who I am. I show up as me, but that's my journey to showing up as me, winning at my own life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to be anybody else.
For sure.
I don't want to be the next whoever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be the first me, and nobody can do it better than me.
That takes me to a point that even before I started this podcast, I struggle with transparency. I'm like, Lord, why I'm not transparent? I keep stuff to the hip. You know, I came up in a house where I was taught what happened in the house, stay in the house.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
I
So
do.
the Lord, like, if you want to touch people, give people your life.
Absolutely.
Unapologetically.
No apologies.
So I start speaking my truth to the health issues, to the issues that I had in my marriage, issues going through in my marriage. Just straight, this is who I am.
This is all of that stuff made you who you are.
Yes.
Like, what happens in this house stays in this house is great, except for the trauma that comes out of that. It doesn't stay in the house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't stay in that house. It's now in my house. I'm an adult. I have children. That trauma is now in my house.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm passing that trauma along to my kids who are suffering like me, although they didn't go through what I went through, because they're watching me. I'm teaching my son how to walk. So if I walk with a limp, he'll think it's normal to walk with a limp. So he'll limp like me, even though he wasn't injured like me.
Of course.
So
of course.
the trauma can't stay in the house anymore. Why am I ashamed of anything that I did? I did it. Some of it I did it to death. You know, and I enjoyed it while I was doing it. Coming out of it made me who I am. So let's talk about it. So if there's somebody else who's feeling stuck or trapped, they can figure out how to get out by my story.
Okay. Well, let's get straight to it then.
Let's talk about. I don't know what you about to say, but let's talk about.
All right. So I want to get started. How did you grow up?
Whew, there's so many sides to that. I grew up in Mississippi. So
Okay.
let's just start there. You know,
Down south.
way down south. Probably a few years, not long after Jim Crow was abolished.
Okay.
So I just missed the whites only, and blacks only, and riding the back of the bus type of situation physically happening, but the mentality of the people was still the same. Because right in the middle of the South. But I grew up in a home that was so filled with love that I didn't even know that we were poor. Like,
Okay.
I didn't know the stuff that we didn't have because my mother made sure we got everything we wanted, everything we needed. I don't know what it's like to flip the switch and the lights don't come on. Like I don't know what it's like to not have meat with every meal. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. It was so full of love that I didn't realize the traumas of my dad being absent and in prison. I didn't even realize all of those things until I became older.
Okay. So you didn't really see that growing up.
No, I thought it was normal.
Okay. Okay.
I thought it was normal to go visit your dad in prison.
Okay. Okay.
Because that's what we did. Other kids weren't doing it. So why y'all not doing it?
So you thought something wrong with them, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with us.
Okay.
So yeah, I grew up going back and forth to the state penitentiary. And because my dad was a chef, he was always like at the warden's house cooking.
Okay.
So we weren't inside of the jail. So it didn't seem like prison. But that's exactly what it was.
Okay.
We still had to pass through the barbed wire. But we thought it was normal.
Okay. So when did stuff start to get a little shaky for you?
Probably around 13, 14, when you start to realize, like, hey, my friend's dad is living at home. And I was starting to go to church with one of my friends, and my dad was a drug dealer who was very good at it until he became a drug user.
Okay.
So that shift, thrust us into a different type of life. And, if you have the book, you come home, ain't nothing in the house anymore. Like, all the furniture is gone. Everything. Like, you could hear the echo in the house because he had sold everything.
Sort of like you watched the first episode when he came home.
Everything
was gone. Yeah. But the rug.
Listen, if the carpet hadn't been in there, it might have been gone too.
Okay.
So then you're like, wait, this really ain't normal. This is not how it's supposed to be. And then after that, you start getting angry. I tell this story of being in the bed with all of my valuables. You had to sleep with the money and stuff in the bed with you. Otherwise, he would take it. And I remember laying in the bed and he thought I was asleep and seeing him in the room going through things looking for money. That's traumatizing. And this was my life. But then you start growing up and you realize, like, I don't like this dude. Like, I think I might hate him. Now you got to deal with that. But nobody knew what I was going through.
So you kept it to the
we didn't talk about it. Some of my own family didn't know outside of that what was going on.
Did you have siblings?
I do.
Well, did they feel the same way, or do you think it was just you?
Oh, no, she absolutely felt the same way.
Okay.
Like, we realized later, talking about it as adults, that, like, man, we looked good on the outside, but we were struggling on the inside, trying to be normal, trying to go to school, maintain good grades, not knowing what you were going to find when you came home. It was traumatic.
It seems like you talking to me right now because at one point that was me. You look good on the outside, but in the inside you're struggling, you're angry, you're bitter, you empty.
Yeah. There was a song, I don't remember who sang it a while back, but there was a verse It might have been the chorus that said, I'm dying inside and nobody knows it but me. And I remember hearing that song and thinking, oh my God, it struck me like this is the lie that we portray every day when you leave out of the house. You're dying inside. Nobody knows because we know how to look good. You know, we look good. We smell good. You know, we're dressed well. Our hair is manicured. We speak well. But nobody knows we're just so full of dead men's bones and just held together with duct tape and Band-Aids.
For sure.
Yeah.
Super glue.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that went through what, 13, all your teenage years, or
Yeah, probably up until about 18.
till about 18?
Yeah.
So then what happened after that?
I realized I got saved.
At 18 or 19?
At 18.
Okay.
I got saved at 18, right between the transition from high school to college.
Okay.
And right before college actually started, God saved me right there because he knew. I was about to be out of my mother's house. I'm about to be living on campus. It was HBCU.
Okay.
I'm about to discover America.
Okay.
And God, no, let me save you. And then I realized I couldn't hate him. I needed to deal with all those things that I felt. Like I needed to forgive him. But he was also in jail again at the time.
Okay.
My whole life he was spent in and out of jail. But I realized like, ooh, the love of God cannot authentically live in you and share that space with hatred. Like one has got to go. And it had to be that hatred.
I think I'm on like both sides of it because for me, I have never held stuff, or let me not say never. I hated my old dude.
Yeah,
I did. But like you said, I agree. Hate and love can't share the same space.
Right.
But it's a thin line between that. And sometimes I know for me, I had to erase that line because I'm like, either you gonna hate or you gonna love. And God can't do it. God can't dwell in. You can't have God and hate in the same body. You just can't do it.
You can't.
You can't do it.
Right.
And now I'm on the other side now where I need to be forgiven, and it's just like Jesus Christ, like, you know, like,
Yeah.
Is this how I feel?
Yeah, but you know what? You got to experience that. Like you have to experience needing mercy to understand the necessity of giving mercy. Like you have to be on both sides. You got to experience it. You got to experience not liking someone to the point where I don't even want to pray for them. To God putting something in you where you start praying for them for real, and then God reveals that there's a trap door in prayer called mercy, where you start authentically praying for someone and you slide through that door where mercy starts to take over and you feel the shift. That's what you need. And then you're hoping that your person or your people are praying who you have upset and angered, that they reach that place where they're praying for you for real and they slide through that door of mercy because now you understand the necessity of needing it and giving it.
So let me ask you this. So when you was in forgiveness of your father, did he change or did he continue to be that same man?
This was the thing about my dad. He was very emotional. So he would do something and then have these moments where he would cry uncontrollably, apologizing. To the point where he was crying so hard, then you feel like, well, you
feel bad.
Listen,
yeah.
I'm sorry. You feel bad because he's so broken. But that also helped me realize that tears are not a sign of true repentance either. But I realized that I've got to do this to free me. It's not about him at all. Forgiveness is never about the other person. It's always about you. And I think that was the transition for me. Because as long as it was about him, I was struggling trying to do it. Because I felt like, it wasn't right what he did. He shouldn't have done that to me, or he shouldn't have done that to the family. So as long as forgiveness was about him, those things just stayed in my mind.
Okay. For
But
sure.
once I realized, like, wait a minute, my inability to forgive him creates my inability to get forgiveness. Hey, let's fix this. Okay,
for
God,
sure.
God help me.
For sure. For
Because
sure.
now I need forgiveness and I'm unable to get it. My forgiveness or receiving it is directly tied to my ability to give it.
That's scripture, though.
It is.
That's scripture.
And I'm like, only God would do that. To say you're going to need forgiveness every day of your life. In order for you to give it, you got to forgive every day of your life. Like, kind of.
I'm going to tell you what God showed me. He showed me, like, a lot of us, we think that we're going to make it to the next or make it to heaven. But something as small as forgiveness will stop you.
Yes.
You can live the perfect life. Don't smoke, don't drink, don't swear. So you can be saved for sure.
Yeah.
But holding on to unforgiveness or hating your brother
Yeah.
will stop you.
You got the ticket to get on the plane. You go to the airport, you buy your ticket. I got access to the plane. But your behavior inside the airport could disqualify you from being able to get on. Like, I'm in the airport. I got a ticket. The door is right there. But because of my behavior in here, I can't go through. That's how unforgiveness interferes with your entry into heaven. Like, you in here, but your bad behavior or your inability to follow the rules in here can keep you from actually getting on the plane. You can see it, but you can't get on it.
Girl, that's why I love you. That is the A1
Yeah,
truth.
The Holy Spirit is your ticket.
For sure.
It's not a guarantee to get on the plane. Because your behavior
Has a lot to do with it.
has a lot to do with it.
Okay, so let's transition. So what happened in your 20s, in those years, in them 20s, early 30s? What's at that phase in your life?
The 20s were pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yeah, not. I don't want to go back to any of it. Let me just say that.
Okay.
I appreciate all the phases, and I'm glad that I'm where I'm at. So
Okay.
I lived it, so I don't have to try to relive it
For sure.
out of season.
Okay.
But my 20s were really good. It was such a good time with God, being in my 20s. So much revelation. But them 30s, man, I was wilding out.
In your 30s?
Yes. I hit a stretch. And, this is why it bothers me when people say, once saved, always saved.
That's not the truth.
That's not true.
That's not true.
I hit a stretch. Another thing that bothers me since we're here
For sure.
is for people to say that church hurt is not a real thing. Because I went through some things in church that I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. If this is what it's about, if this is what it is, then I don't want to do it. The caveat to that is I own my own stuff. Just because you leave a church, you shouldn't leave God. I left everybody. I threw the baby out with the bathwater.
Okay.
So that my 30s for 7 years, I was outside.
Outside.
I
the
did
porch.
everything. Oh yeah, I wasn't nowhere near the house anymore. I did everything I thought I wanted to do. I started drinking for the first time.
Okay.
I tried smoking weed for the first time.
I read your book. That's
Bruh. If you don't wait till you get in your 30s to try this, I'm like, God had to let me know this ain't for you. And so, yeah, I tried all kind of stuff, and I was out there doing my own thing. But when you're smeared, when God has smeared you with the oil, even when you're out there and you are mingling with these groups of people, they know that it's something different about you. How many people say, why you out here? Why you in here? I had never been in a club before. I was all in the club. Everything I hadn't experienced, let me try it. And, man, I couldn't wait for God to bring me back, though. I was like, God, get me out. Like, let me off this ride.
So you asked him that? Or?
I did.
Okay.
I did. And it seemed like I was stuck. Like I felt so far out that ain't no way he coming to get me. And the shame from being anointed, from being in ministry, from being someone known as a church girl, to being out here drinking, smoking weed, being promiscuous, doing everything, and then people know where you came from. So the shame of all of that made coming back even more difficult. Because now you have to come back and face, the people that you left because of in the first place.
You preaching to the choir right now because that's where I'm at.
But when God said come back, I don't really care what you think of me anymore. And I think that's the process that you have to go through. And I think that's why so many people walk away from it all. Because you haven't been freed from people. And while you're out here and you trying to find your footing, there's this piece that you learn that they don't matter. Your opinion to me is not my business. I don't care what you think. There are more people out here that are dying. And then you realize that the people who are in church with you, they're dying too. And the reason why they're doing these things to you and to each other is because they're hurting.
For sure, I agree.
They're hurting too. And our objective is to be dead. And we don't know how to be dead. We're not dead enough yet. The cost of your walk is a toe tag. And we're trying to figure out how to stay alive.
My mom told me today on FaceTime with her, salvation is free, but the anointing costs.
Costs you everything.
Cost me everything.
Everything.
And one thing about people, they remind you of all the stuff you've done. And I think that's the thing that I struggle with.
Yeah.
Because God has changed my life. But it's always that, oh, you did this or you did that. Just because what I did, that's not who I am.
Right. They can't forget.
They can't forget.
What you did.
So let me ask you this. What do you think about the saying, you can forgive but not forget?
It's funny that you should ask that. Okay. There's a scripture that says that God tosses your sins in the sea of forgetfulness. What that means is, it doesn't mean that he forgot about it. It means that the sea is so deep. If you're out on a boat and you're out in the midst of the sea and you drop something into the water, you drive away and you say, I think I need that. Let me go back and get it. And you try to go back to the spot where you were, you're not going to be able to retrieve that because it's so deep that you can't reach down and get it. When he says in the sea of forgetfulness, it just means I'm going to put this so far away that it can't be used against you to interfere with your salvation anymore.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that it's forgotten, because unless you have a mental status change, like a stroke or something.
That you forgot.
You didn't forget. But it's so far removed that it has no effect anymore on how I feel about you. I didn't forget it. I forgave it.
Okay.
So I'm not trying to dig it up to hold it against you. But it may come back to memory. If we have an incident outside of the 7-Eleven, 2 years from now, I drive by the 7-Eleven, I might remember we had that incident right here at the 7-Eleven. I ain't mad at you about it anymore. I just remembered that it happened because I saw the 7-Eleven. But then there are people who feel like, you brought up the 7-Eleven, you haven't forgiven me. That's not what that means. Doesn't mean that because it's still in my memory that I didn't forgive you. I'm not holding it against you. I'm not mad.
I think that's the thin line. If you can bring it up, but it doesn't affect how you feel.
That's the absolute definition. Yeah.
That's girl. I'm enjoying you myself.
We've always had good conversations.
I'm enjoying you myself. Okay, so I know when I read in your book, it talk about your experience that you had with the weed.
Yeah.
So like, I used to be a heavy weed smoker. I'm talking about train smoker. You know what I'm saying? I didn't start this new weed stuff. I can't even do it.
Yeah.
No way.
I'm out.
No way. Like, I think I didn't mess with shrooms before weed. I seen ostriches and elephants and all that type of, I'm straight. Like,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So for you, like, what made you try it and then all of a sudden just stop?
Because I was around people who were smoking. You know, I had never been around people who smoked. So while I'm outside, I encounter smokers.
Okay.
And they smoking like chimneys. Everybody smoking. Like it was the thing to do. Like I don't smoke. And you in a room and everybody smoking. This, I don't really do house parties. But you're at a house party, everybody smoking. They offer you some. And for a minute I was good. And no, I don't smoke. No, I don't smoke. You don't smoke. Like, well, why you here? That's a good question. All right, I'm going to try it. All right.
Okay.
And so you have somebody, you're going to talk me through it. We're going to show you what to do. Okay. Y'all look like professionals. Oh, show me what to do. All right. So they set everything up. You know, my man, he got the bong all set up. He's like, you take a deep breath, you know, hold it for a couple seconds, blow it out. Bet. I can follow instructions. Smart. Please. I followed the instructions to the T. A couple of seconds after that, I can't even explain to you like what happened. I know I went into a different realm, but I was trying to be cool and play it off because I didn't want them to know that I felt like I was about to die. And my heart was beating so fast. I could hear it in my head. And I walked out of this room and I was going down the hallway and I was like, I just need to make it to the kitchen. And it seemed like the walls was moving. I was like, and I asked somebody for some water. I literally poured the water down. I couldn't find my mouth.
Okay.
And I was like, and then the person who I went to the party with found me in the kitchen and she was trying to help me. And when I looked at her face, like I literally saw the devil. Like her face was contorting. And the look that was on her face, I'll never forget it. Never forget. To this day, you know, she's saved now. But to this day, she'll say, you remember when you said I was the devil? I was like, because you were.
For sure.
You know, like I'll never forget that. And I was like, okay, that should have been enough. I don't remember getting home. And I remember getting in the car in the street lights. It looked like I was in a kaleidoscope. All the lights was flashing and moving. And then the guy whose house we were at, the next time I saw him, he said, he's like, I know that you don't smoke. He was like, but you should never take anything from somebody you don't know. He was like, people could give you anything. He's like, but you was safe here. And he's like, this was some Jamaican Gans. It still don't mean nothing to me. But he was like, we would never give you anything here that's going to hurt you. He was like, but you should never smoke anything from somebody you don't know. Stranger telling me that. This is not a habit that I'm about to have.
For sure.
But that was the first incident. I waited a while. Now I'm going to try it again because I ain't no punk, you know.
Okay.
Stopping is for quitters.
Okay.
I ain't no quitters. I'm going to try it again.
For sure.
Man, I tried it again and same feeling in my chest. You know, felt like I was going to die. And I remember having this experience where I heard this boom. I heard it, but I felt it inside my body. And I was holding on to the dresser, and I was like, this is how I'm going to go. Like, how am I going to explain? Like, I ain't going to be able to explain what happened to me when they find my body. Just in here like this. I was at home by myself, and I was all these thoughts. And then it hit again, like, boom. And I saw this flash of these two hands. One was coming out of the ground. One was coming out of the sky.
You know what that was.
Listen, this was the fight for my soul, man. And the one out of the sky was just colorful and vibrant, and the one out of the ground was black and gray and ashen, and these two hands came together, and they were just pulling. And you could see as it was going upward, the one at the bottom was filling with color, and then it would come down, and the one at the top was turning gray, and I could see that fight, and you just hear these booms and feel them in my chest, and I was like, God, please.
Fighting.
Don't let me die like this. And I was like, God, I can't do it. Whatever it is that other people can do, you can't do everything that other people can do because of the call on your life, because of places that you have to go. I'll have to talk to people that I can't be partaking in what you're partaking in if I'm there to help you. We can't be doing the same thing.
For sure. I agree.
So
I agree.
yeah,
100%.
I was like, no, I ain't going back. I'm done.
You done? Completely?
I'm done. Yeah. Oh yeah, finished.
You sound like me. I got a cousin who be hey, it will eliminate the stress, it eliminate the headache.
No.
Nah, player, I'm good. I'm
No.
good.
The headache, I ain't worried about the headache. I'd rather keep whatever it is I'm dealing with than to that fight and wrestle for my soul. I keep the headache. Yeah.
So
I'd rather be up at night.
So when you was coming out of being outside, like, what brought you back? Like, I call it prodigal son. Like, what brought you back?
It was literally God, because I had said I'm not ever going back. I was like, I'm not going back. And then when I knew that it was the pull of God, because he had started cleaning my life up, and he was taking away, all the crutches and everything that I was finding comfort in, and all the people that I was around. He take the blinders off so you can see things as they are. And so it was starting to look ugly, and nothing. It wasn't tasting right, and it's like, okay. It's like, I want you to come home. And he's like, the way you left is the reason why you have to go back where you left from. And I was like, I don't want to go back there. Let me go somewhere else. So I started visiting, other churches and going to other places, and I couldn't get comfortable. I was like, man, I got to go back. But I had to go back the right way. I had to go back and have the conversations that I should have had before I left. And this is one of the reasons why I am like I am now. Let's talk about it up front. I'm not holding anything in. I'm not going to keep it from you. I'm not going to tell you one thing and then have the conversation with somebody else that I should have had with you. So I'm like, let's have the conversation. I'm not the same person. I was wrong for leaving the way that I did, but you were wrong for what happened. And here's what you did and said. And then they apologize, I apologize, and now we can all go forward. But I was prepared. If I don't get an apology, I'm going to say everything that needs to be said, and then I'm going to go forward no matter what. And that's been the move since then.
That's good.
We're going to go forward no matter what.
That's
I don't
good.
care what you think, how you feel. You're going to get this truth.
For sure. I agree.
You'll get the truth.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's good. So when you came back, was it refreshing, or was it constantly people reminding you of who you was?
It was refreshing, but it was obvious. The people who knew where I was, it was obvious, but they didn't matter anymore.
Okay.
Like, that was the thing for me. You don't matter, and you never did. Like, I gave them the power they had the first time. So it was about me not making the mistakes that I made. You're free to make whatever mistake you want. You are free to think whatever you want to think. I don't have the bandwidth to try to correct your thinking. That's for you to do. We spend a whole lot of time trying to control what people think about us. I can't do that. That interferes with me being authentic. That keeps me from telling the truth that I need to tell, the way that I need to tell it. So I can't worry about it. If somebody in this thing got to be mad, it's just not going to be me. It ain't going to be me.
I feel you.
Yeah, let them be mad. They'll adjust. How many times in your life have you been mad?
A lot.
You got over all of them.
I got over all of
They
them.
will too.
Amen to that.
They'll get over it.
So I want to get off into your book, man.
Well, let's get into it.
So I wrote down so much stuff in your book. Like, I literally called Brocky, like, man, her book is a heavy hitter. So mind you, one of my favorite chapters in the book is love over ego.
Okay.
I think that was just like hit home for me, because I'm a firm believer in, or just even now, I've really started experiencing God's love.
Yeah.
So I think my ministry is more about not what I hate, but what I love. Because a lot of people make their calling, or they always telling people what they hate.
Right.
You can't retrieve nobody off continue telling people what you hate.
Exactly.
I'm going to tell you what I love. So if I tell you what I love, what I hate don't matter.
It don't. And you attract
more
of what you love
of
the
course.
more you talk about it.
Of course.
Absolutely.
So I think that is the love of Christ. He doesn't come at, so I was listening to this video a while back, and I guess it was a guy, he had something going on. I can't remember. He had something going on, and it's instead of God coming to. So when he came to God, instead of God telling him the stuff that he needed to change, the first thing that God told him is, "I love you.
Right.
I love you." And just what he said by that broke him down.
Of course.
And once you get that when he show you that he loves you, then the next phase of that is, okay, since we got the important thing, now we can begin to unravel everything else.
Yes. Because most people don't think God loves them.
I agree.
And that's like the source of so much of their pain. They're carrying all of their stuff because they don't believe God loves them enough to take it.
Mm-hmm.
So they won't cast their cares on him because they don't think he loves them enough to actually take them.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he said, "Come, I want everybody who is laboring and working hard to come to me and take my yoke because mine is easy and light." But nobody will come because they don't think that he meant what he said, or they don't feel worthy enough to make that exchange. So they just stay in pain, feeling like he doesn't love them and that he won't help, and then the cycle just continues.
But it's tough. Even just me going through it, it's tough. Like you want to quit. You want to quit. Like it's times where I got rough days. Lord, I'm tired of this. I'm over it. I'm done.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know what? You was built for this.
Yeah. And what you gonna do? Where you gonna go?
You right.
If you quit, what you gonna do?
Go back to the same foods that you just came out of.
I did that already.
Yeah. And I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do it.
I don't want to do that. So just bang it out.
Yeah. Bang it out.
So I'm gonna tell you some of the stuff that I've copied and pasted.
Okay.
So the first one I said was, I like the title alone, "What If I Win?"
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I say all the time is win. Win. No matter how winning looks like to you, win.
Win. Yeah.
Win. If you believe in Jesus Christ, you are already a winner.
You're already a winner. But most people want to win at somebody else's life.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to know how to win at my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being in the car and just hearing, "What if I win?" And I didn't know that it was a book title. It was just a thought. Like, well, what if I win? And I was like, what if I win? Because I'm always thinking, but what if it don't work? We get all these ideas and, and I was like, well, what if that don't work? Oh, I did that one time. That didn't work out. Somebody tried that already. That didn't work. And we think of all the ways that it won't work before we move.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you thought of all the ways that it would work and just did it?
So, like, what made you write it?
That thought right there. Like, what if it does? And then I started thinking about all the areas of my life that had shifted.
Mm-hmm.
Like the trust. Like, I remember not trusting God. And then I remember when I realized why I didn't trust God.
Mm-hmm.
Because trust is established in children. So what do you do when the person who is supposed to validate you violates you?
Mm-hmm.
You grow up not trusting the people who are over you, who is ultimately your father. It's God. If my earthly father broke the trust, how am I supposed to trust God as Father?
That's true.
So realizing that this is where it comes from made me go back and peel the layers. You got to deal with that. How did I deal with that? So let me write about it. Let me tell somebody how I discovered it, how I dealt with it, and how I overcame it. Mm-hmm. And maybe it'll help them realize I'm dealing with the same thing. You can't even imagine how many times I've heard that from somebody who said, "This book is my life."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "No, this is my life." He's like, "No, it's my life."
I agree.
Because people struggle with the same. There are some things that are just consistent.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk to 5 people in this building. 4 of them will have trust issues.
Mm-hmm.
And may not be able to identify why. It didn't start when you were an adult. So I just wanted to tell the story. Relationships, how I overcame certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Why I struggle with success. I had a fear of success. I understood failure. I know what to do if it doesn't work right. Mm-hmm. We make all kind of plans. Okay, if it don't work, we're gonna do this. We got a fail-safe plan for everything. You got a backup for the backup if it don't work. Because we have this expectancy that it might not work. I knew what to do if it don't work. I got that. I don't know what to do if it starts succeeding. And most of the time we sabotage it. Because we know what to do if it messes up. We don't have a plan if it just take off and keep going. We're not prepared for that.
For sure. For sure.
So I talk about the fear that I had of success and how it transitioned and shifted.
See, going back to what you were saying about the trust issues, so one of my biggest things, what I had to learn when people used to tell me, oh, well, you know right from wrong. You know right from wrong. I was empty.
Yeah.
I can't give what I didn't get.
Absolutely. We always expect people to do what hasn't been modeled for them. How can you do it?
It's no way possible.
You can't do it. Somebody at some point has to show you something different. So you can see it can be done. Okay, but if you've never seen a good marriage, you're not going to have one.
I'm not going to have one.
If you've never seen a good relationship, or if everybody around you is toxic and the environment is toxic, you are going to be toxic. Or you know what, if you are in a toxic environment and you're not running for the hills, it is because you are slightly toxic yourself. So if you don't run from dysfunction, it's because you're accustomed to it, because it is in you. So if you haven't seen these things done correctly, you're not going to be able to do it correctly. So some of us have got to tell you, I haven't always done it right. I shredded it, drilled it, tore the whole thing up.
Burned it up.
This is what happened after that. But we don't talk about that kind of
no,
stuff.
we
Be
don't.
embarrassed. I'm not.
No, me neither. I just made a post on Instagram. I've never been transparent, but at this point in my life, I hope my struggles are able to help you through yours.
Absolutely.
Because I'm no longer scared. I heard so many opinions about even marriages, about health issues and what they'd do, how they'd do it. Hey, you ain't God.
Right.
Unless God come down and tell me this, I can't go off what you talking about.
Right.
I was just on the phone with my cousin before I came. He like, man, you a better man than me. Like, well, I guess I am. I guess I am.
I'll take that.
I take that.
Yeah, but most of the people who want to tell you what to do with your life, their life's still raggedy.
Of course.
Man, if I was you, I wouldn't stay with her. Wasn't y'all just fighting in the car at the light the other day? But you gonna tell me, if you were me, you wouldn't stay with her. But you all are fighting just like we are. So you just need me to be by myself? Or you waiting on me to get out of my situation so you can leave your situation and pick mine up?
Yeah.
There's always an ulterior motive.
Yeah.
But most of the people who have advice for you don't take their own advice first.
So one of the things I've let me see which one I want to go. That's the best. That is the best to kick it off. All right, this is the one I like. One of the ones I like. Some parents do not think about their inability to trust God to handle the wars in their souls and pass down to their children, and I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt that because my father passed down something to me that I didn't ask for.
Yeah.
I didn't know nothing about nothing. It was inherited.
Yeah. You know what? Imagine you have a child, and you've got a small child who's not walking yet, and they're right at the age where you got to start teaching them how to walk, and you stand them up and you walk, for them. You're like, this is what you got to do. You put one foot in front of the other. Imagine if you've got a terrible limp, and you're trying to teach somebody how to walk. They're gonna walk with the same limp that you have because you're the one teaching them how to walk. They're not hurt like you, but they're limping like you. This is how hurting people hurt people. You pass your limp on because we're following you. This is how parents pass things on to their children. Because you don't heal your limp, all of your children are gonna limp because they're watching you walk. What you do in moderation, your kids gonna do in excess.
That's deep.
I mean, that's real.
That's deep. What you do in moderation, what your kids will do access.
Because you're telling them this is right. you're modeling what's right and what's true and what's good for them. So when whatever you show them, they gonna do it to death. You just did a little bit. They gonna perfect it for you. So you have to be sure that what you're showing is actually the right thing. But parents don't think about that. They just living their best life. Your child is gonna show you the life that you lived. You want scripture for that? A husband is known in the gates by his wife. The wife is known in the gates by the child. So when you see a child acting up, the first thing you say is, who is their mother?
Oh, I agree.
When you see a woman who is just outside and she's like, where's her husband at? I know he don't know. That's just how it goes.
That's deep. That's deep.
That's how it is.
All right, let me get another one for you. I got a couple of them that I like. If you want to know how injured someone is, try loving them unconditionally. That triggers the ego into something terrible. It will rise up and demand to know who is attempting to take over my territory with this authenticity.
Yeah. Love and ego, always fighting. Love needs somebody to spread it around. Ego need a host. They're always fighting for position. They can't operate at the same time. They can't co-chair your soul. One has to take over. And the ego is always afraid that if you start to love abundantly and authentically, it's going to lose its position.
Okay. So I'm gonna just read all the ones. So I'm going to read it and you kind of narrate off of it. Tell me what you meant. All right. This one is...
I probably should have read the book before I came.
Oh, man. Because an individual who is absorbed in their feelings cannot listen to the point of comprehensions, emotions do not prepare you for effective communication or vulnerability. They only prepare you for fight or flight.
Yeah. Your emotions aren't prepared for communication. When a person is emotional, they don't hear what you're saying. They hear how they feel about what you're saying. So when you say something, you got these two little glands, these two little adrenal glands that sit right above your kidneys. When you get all emotional, they start dumping, adrenaline in your body. All the blood leaves your brain and goes to your hand and your feet. That's why they call it fight or flight. There's only two things you're gonna do when you get in that state. Either you want to fight or you want to run. Most people get in this state, and that's when they want to talk. Your brain is not prepared for conversation right now. And the fact that you don't know that this is the time to be quiet, you're going to wing it and do way more damage trying to have this conversation when your brain is off doing something else. But people aren't aware of what is happening in their bodies when they get all emotional and upset.
That's good.
You got to know what's happening.
No, you're right. I agree.
You get mad, you get hot, you feel this heat. You get all these words and stuff coming to your mind. Your feet start tingling and your hands, and you want to punch somebody in the face. That's what you want to do. Or you want to flee the scene. That's when you want to talk. We can't talk right now.
Can't talk right now.
Can't talk right now. But because people don't know what's happening in their bodies, they tear up the scene real bad.
All right, here go another one. But empty people do not recognize the emptiness in other people. Even if it's your best friend, the emptiness of your soul obscures your view of the souls of others. And empty people attract empty people. It's a trauma bond like you cannot imagine. One, you attract what you are and not what you want. Secondly, being surrounded by people just like you keeps you from feeling like something is missing or wrong with you. Absolutely.
When your cup is empty, there's one thing. You have to fill your cup to the point where it overflows. The overflow is what you give out to other people, because everything in the cup is for you. If you give people what's in the cup, you make them a thief and a robber, and they don't even know it. And you'll eventually resent them for not understanding that you were empty. It's the reason why so many people are still in relationships and they're angry with their person. You're mad with them because they can't see that you're empty and that you need something. But they can't see that you're empty and need something because they're empty and they need something too. And you can't use each other to fill those cups.
That's true.
But people spend so much time, I just need you to pour into me and fill my cup. They can't. We ask people every day to do something that they are unable to do, and then we're angry with them because they can't do it.
I think that's one thing about me. So in my life, I never really got the support that I wanted. You know what I'm saying? I never really got the support. Like, as big as my family is,
It's huge, man.
huge family. I always got the support from like my siblings to a certain extent, but growing up, I didn't get no support. I was always fighting to be good enough. You know what I'm saying? If that make sense. Like, I was always last. I always got stuff last. They was getting that because they dad allowed them to do this. I was always fighting to be in a position just to be good enough. And it's like, even now, to the point I feel like I look for support. And I don't know, like, sometimes it bothers me, but the Lord always tells, I'm your support.
Right.
I'm your support. Because I feel like I never really got the support that I wanted. That I don't want to say that I'm old, but I never got the support that I wanted. Like, I thrive off support.
Yeah.
Because I give support. You know what I'm saying? I'm big enough. You doing something, whatever. I come show love, whatever. But I don't feel like I've really got that. But God, I'm your support.
Yeah. He is. He's the source. Everything else is a resource. But we make him the resource, and we look for our source of support somewhere else.
That's true.
And because we have it flipped inside out, we don't experience the fullness of anything because we're not getting it from God. We're getting it from people. So it's going to be tainted, it's going to be limited, and it's going to be conditional. But then we blame those results on God because mentally we connect to God, but outside we connected everywhere else.
To people. So this is one of my favorites. Like, this was one of my favorites. I'm not even gonna lie. An army of sheep led by a lion will always defeat an army of lions led by sheep. The spirit of who you choose to follow will either inspire you to achieve more than you could ever imagine or reduce you to mediocrity. Let that marinate. Who are you following after? Who are you listening to? Whoever has your ear has your ear.
Yeah.
And I believe that wholeheartedly. Who are you listening to?
Who are you listening to? An army of lions led by a sheep will always be defeated by an army of sheep led by a lion. Because you can take that sheep will teach those lions to be docile and to be quiet and to suppress who they are. So nobody fears an army of lions led by a sheep. But you got an army of sheep led by a lion. He's going to teach them how to hunt, how to roar, how to bite, how to finish a kill.
You got some bad sheep.
For real. Absolutely. Because they will follow whoever is leading them. That's why who you choose to follow is important. Who's pouring into you. Either they're going to inspire you to greatness or reduce you to mediocrity. There's no way around it. Whoever has your ear, who you listening to, is going to determine what your year looks like. So, yeah.
That's true. No, I agree.
Give me a lion.
And this is one of my other favorites. Remember that everything that can be shaken will be shaken till all that remains cannot be. You are still here. You have survived, and it all I promise you to keep the main thing. You too, you will soon declare
that I win. Yeah,
that you win, and everything that could be shaken will be shaken.
That's the scripture, though. That everything that can be shaken will be shaken. So that the only thing that remains is that which can't be shaken. So when you find yourself in this spot where it seems like everything is shaken and all this stuff is falling away, that's the tree. And when it's done being shaken, everything that remains is that which can't be. Now you can go forward. But until then, we got to shake it up. We got to get everything out of the way that's going to stop you. Everything out of the way that's going to tell you it don't take all that. Everything out of the way that's going to try to keep you being a lion. I think it was Dave Chappelle at his Kennedy Center honors speech who said that his mother said to him, sometimes you have to be the lion so you can be the lamb you want to be. Sometimes you have people who don't want you to roar when you need to. So they try to tell you, hey, you don't do all that. Then you have those people who want you to roar all the time and never want you to be like a lamb. You don't need them either. You need people who can see who you are. They know who you are. They can nurture whatever position you're in, and wherever you're at, they see this is where you're supposed to be, and they support you and nurture you through it. Not always trying to pull your string and change you and make you into what's acceptable to me. But who are you? Can I see who you are? Go with that. And if you're surrounded by people who can't see who you are, every last one of them need to go. Go on and grieve the loss of them so you don't have to grieve the loss of you. But most people are grieving now the loss of themselves.
You're right.
Because they don't want to cut off. I don't watch horror movies, but you remember It on the cover of the movie, the clown at them giant scissors? I carry a pair of them. I don't care how thick the cord is. The moment I realize that you are interfering with God's plan for my life, snip, I have found that God replaces everything that you give up for his name.
And I think that's so important, even that you say that, you always inquire if you interfere in God's plan for my life.
Absolutely.
And not my plan for my life.
Absolutely. Because I don't have a plan. I wanted to be a doctor. I had a plan. And he interrupted that plan with his plan. I was like, okay. It took me a minute. I kicked and screamed and fussed about it. But his plan has been so good. The people that I've met that I wouldn't have met if I had followed my plan. I wouldn't be here in Michigan right now. This book probably would not have been written. It is because I lived the way that I did that all the things that people love so much are here. I wouldn't be saying these things if I had followed my path. Wouldn't have no nuggets.
You got more than nuggets.
You know,
you got chicken tenders. You got tenders.
The chapter that you like, Love Over Ego, it actually came from a workshop. I was invited to speak somewhere, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And it just dropped, Overcoming the Ego with Love. I was at a networking conference. They said, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. We don't care. We just want to hear what you have to say. So we're going to talk about overcoming the ego with love. We're going to talk about God out here in the marketplace. And it was one of the biggest sessions they had at the conference.
I loved it.
So you can't tell me that people out in the marketplace don't want to hear about God. They do. They're hurting too.
Of course. But I think people, they afraid to be transparent about what they're hurting about.
Oh, no, man. People just bust out crying. This has been like amazing. One of the ladies, she said, I'm at a conference. I'm crying. She was like, I don't know if you're talking about my job or my marriage. I'm confused right now what I'm supposed to be doing. But that's how it's supposed to be. God is so relatable. He's so personal that he can move through your marriage and your job and what's happening, in the car and what's happening in the grocery store. And he's weaving or woven in there so smooth that there should be no separation where you have to figure out times when he's there and when he's not. It should never be like that. He's incorporated into everything. So why do I need to separate him from anything?
So was it hard for you to put a trigger on the book because it has so much stuff about you in there?
Yeah. Once it was finished, I sat with it for a minute. I sat on it for a minute. I talked to my sister. I was like, listen, I'm about to tell everything. And I was like, I just want you to know, and I sent it to her, like, here, look at this, and my people. I was like, here, read this because I'm about to let this out here.
Let it fly.
Yeah. And nobody said don't do it. Everybody said, oh my God, hurry up and release this. So I was like, yeah.
Do you think this is one of the greatest projects that you have released thus far?
Thus far, absolutely. Absolutely. It is the most of me that I've ever exposed at one time. But
So
it's the flat out truth.
you got a lot of feedback?
Oh yeah.
That's good.
A lot of feedback. That's been really, really good. I have heard no negative feedback.
That's good. I mean, I think
Yeah.
the book literally touched my life. And to be honest, I'm more of a audio book, so
Okay.
it's tough for me to lock in.
Yeah.
But when I read it, I'm thinking like, she's heavy. She's heavy. This is heavy. This is heavy because I can't talk to so many people. I be mindful, or when it's time for me to talk about certain stuff, I go to certain people because I know only certain people can understand.
Right. Yeah.
So I think even the conversations that we've had, you get it.
Yeah.
You get it. Brock get it. Like, it's, you only can intellectuals understand in the intellectual. So I can be all things, but it's like sometimes when I got to get it out, and it's the best way I can get out is to be this way.
Yeah.
I want to be around somebody who can understand me.
However I need to get it out. This is how I need to get it
This
out.
how I need to get it out.
Yeah. That's why I don't do like sessions at church. Because I don't know how they need to get it out. And I don't want to have to go, hey, you can't talk like that in here. I don't have to worry about, wait, you can't cuss in here. Like, I don't want to go through all of that. Because however it needs to come out, we need to get it out of your body in the most honest and authentic way. Otherwise, I can't help you, and you can't get what you need. So we're not going to hide it. We're not going to try to clean it up and bring it out. No. However it is it need to come out, let it come out like that.
So I got one question for you. So, when you was out here, was there ever a moment for you that God came to you personally that you could think of?
Listen, if I'm just totally honest with you, he was there the whole time. Like from the moment, like when I missed that first service, because I'm at church for everything. When I missed that first service, it was so strong. Like I had to consciously, and see, this another thing people won't tell you, I had to consciously remind myself not to go. I had to remind myself not to pray, not to read. I had to consciously disconnect until it got easier to do. And then when God really, I pushed him out of my mind to the point where I could no longer hear it. And so I think maybe like year number 6, and people were saying the whole time, like, what are you doing? I was out there in one of the groups of people that I was hanging in. They was like, listen, we need somebody to talk to us about God. Will you talk to us? They wanted to have like a Sunday service. Like we can get on like every Sunday around this time so you can talk to us. Because I'm still who I am. You don't stop being you. And I'm like, God, this can't be real. Like, I don't want, no. But I ended up doing it anyway, just because they asked. But then like year number 6, like I started to feel the weight of what I was doing and being away from God. I felt the weight of being from underneath the umbrella of protection.
Being disconnected.
Yeah, it's heavy. Because I was constantly reminded, like, this is who I am. And I kept trying to forget. But you can't forget who you are. You can do all kinds of stuff, but you can't forget who you are.
I'm going to tell you this. So it's only a couple of people who know this. So I think I maybe said this at church, maybe. I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out with God.
Okay.
Tiptoeing in my Jordans. So this one particular day, I was sick as a dog. but I didn't know what I had. Couldn't walk, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I went in the bathroom, passed out at the toilet. Thank God it didn't hit my head on the toilet or on the floor.
Right.
I was like, what's going on? Lord, am I dying? Got in the bed. At this point, I think I missed a week of work, and I don't never miss work like that, just out of it. So I'm like, Lord, I'm tired and I'm done. I have all these issues. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Kidney failure, diabetes. I got this doggone. Before I had surgery, I had this lump on my back. They telling me all this stuff. Like, Lord, I'm done. I don't care how old I am. I don't care about no purpose. I don't care. I love my family. It's just me. They not going through this. I am.
Right.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
So I got in bed. My wife, she used to ask, well, what's wrong? But I used to hide stuff from her because it's like, you got that soldier syndrome. Like, no, I'm good.
Right.
She knew a lot of it because I wasn't eating, just sleep.
Something's wrong.
Something wrong. So I took a mid nap, probably about 11. And I went out, I would start dreaming. When I was dreaming, I was in this Coliseum. Like in Rome.
Okay.
Thousands of people in there. You know how Rome is, they got where it's open.
Yeah.
Stone all around, whatever. People sitting on top of the thing. And I'm in the crowd. And I look down. I'm like, man, that's Jesus down there.
Mm.
I'm thinking like, man, I got to get down there because I'm sick. I know if he touched me, I'm going to be better. But I'm like, how am I going to get down there? It's too many people. How?
Right.
Like, it's just too many people. It's like literally with like millions of people. Like, oh my goodness, it's no possible way I can come down there.
Right.
And I looked, Jesus was making his way up to where the row I was at. And there was a person sitting next to me. And I'm like, bro, you got to get out the way. You know how they say the woman with the issue of blood had to touch her on his garment?
Yes, sir.
Man, bro, you got to get out the way because I got to touch Jesus because I'm dying over here.
Right.
You feel me? So he stopped at my row. And I'm like, bro, get out the way. And I just hugged him. Couldn't see his face. Mm-hmm. Just hugged him. I'm talking in spirit at this point.
Right.
Because it, like when I hugged him, I felt the love
Absolutely.
that he had for me. And it was like my body was just like a breath of fresh air. Like,
yeah.
And I hugged him. And when I hugged him, it was like this one, like, you know, the one thing that I'd never forget. Never. Mm-hmm. And I hugged him. He had this angel that was following behind him. It was like this guy was following behind him. Jesus kept going. And I'm like, hey. I talked to the angel, like, hey. Because he told me, like, you going to be okay.
Okay.
Like, he told me, you going to be okay. So the angel, like, hey, I'm not done. I asked the angel, like, hey, what about this kidney stuff?
Right.
He said, well, I don't know about the kidneys right now, but he just said you're going to be okay.
Okay.
So after that, I woke up, and then maybe about 2 hours later, I was up, like everything was brand new. Wasn't sick, start eating.
Right.
Like everything. So it's like, even with that, I tell people, like, wow, God always comes. Always come. He may not, like, he don't always come when you call. Like, I don't know, like, I've been crying out, like, Lord, come on now. Please.
Yeah.
He don't come when you call, but he always comes.
Yeah.
And I've heard some of the worst news I've ever heard in my life. I've been sickness, unsupported, called names, called a liar, called a cheater, said you was going to be... I'm talking about from the top to the bottom, I didn't been called.
Yeah.
By some of the closest people to me.
Of course.
But God has never left my side.
Ever. In your worst times.
In my worst times.
Yeah.
So for you, I can see it, that God's never left your side either.
Never. Looking back, I can see that he was there all the time. Like even walking into the house as a teen and realizing that there's nothing in the house, realizing that my dad had sold everything. And I remember standing, like, coming through the front door and standing there. Have we been robbed? You know, and then the realization of what actually happened. And my mother was always she was a very strong, willed woman. And she worked. She did everything. She was so full of love. And I remember seeing that look on her face. Like I never forgot that look of her realizing what had happened. And then it's like this switch just clicked, and she was like, okay, I know what I got to do. And she just kicked right into replacing everything. And I remember looking back thinking like, man, like he was there. Like it didn't catch him by surprise. Like it caught me by surprise. He already had grace on the scene for that. Like he had already prepared. This is what you're gonna see. This is what happens after that. And we never think about that part of it. We just think about the suffering of this present time. We don't think about the glory that'll be revealed after that, because we stuck in what we're seeing right now. But he's always been there. In my mind, I can see the times when he would be saying, I wish you would just call me now. Just say something. Come back now. Do this. But we don't follow the whispers. We don't do it. We be so caught up in the pain, so caught up in the hurt, and we feel like God must be feeling about me the way these people are feeling about me, and we leave him out of it. And it just intensifies the pain because we don't invite him into that part of us. But he was there all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Well, Shonda, I literally love this episode. Like, I loved it. Like,
I did too,
straight up, I loved it. Like, I had other guests, but you are one of my favorites. You feel me?
Y'all can edit that part.
So I got one more question for you before we get out of here.
Okay.
If Jesus was standing right in front of you, what's 2 questions you would ask him?
Ooh. What 2 questions would I ask him? Man, you came with the question for real. I would ask, what did you want me to gain by sending me through this particular family? And then I would ask him, what made you cause me to think the way that I do?
Okay. That's good.
Yeah, because we all go through. I know y'all don't look back at your family like
every day. Every day.
Like what? But there's a reason why you came through this particular lineage of people. There was something that you're supposed to get from each side. That is the combination of these 2 things that made you who you were. So what is it that what did you have in mind when you said, I'm going to take this person and this person, and here you go? And then I know how I think is not the norm. Like, why did you make me the one to think like this? Because it's way out there sometimes.
Me too, for sure.
Yeah, it's not normal at all.
For sure. So in closing, what for all the viewers, what would one thing that you would tell the viewers? Anything you would like to tell them? What's one thing that you would tell them?
Oh, there was this one time, I had this dream, and it was an end time kind of dream, and I knew it was a rapture related dream because I could see the sky just open up, and in my sleep, I could feel this something major is happening, but I couldn't wake myself up. And I saw all these people, and then there was this figure that came down from the sky, and it scripturally based. 1 foot in the ocean and one on the earth. And you could see the people just out of the ground the ground was opening up and the souls were just being snatched up. And then there were so many of us who were standing around in amazement at what was happening. And you could just see, I could see people just being snatched away. And I was like, what? Why am I not going? And I would lift off the ground and drop back down. And I was like, God, what is happening? Like, why did I come back down? And he said, empty your pockets. And I was fishing around in my pockets and like, there's nothing in my pocket. And then I would lift up and drop back down. And I'm in tears in this dream because I'm not being taken away with everybody else. And he just kept saying, empty your pockets. I'm like, there's nothing in my pockets. The third time he said, empty your pockets, I'm upset because there's nothing in my pockets. And I put it in, I flipped my pockets inside out. You know how you had like little lint and stuff in your pocket? I'm like, ain't nothing in my pocket but this lint. And I threw it off and was snatched away.
That's deep.
And he said that there's something like a piece of lint is big enough to keep you out of my presence.
That is what we just started off with the unforgiveness.
So,
It's the small things. What does the Bible say? Narrow is the way.
yeah. And it's the little foxes that destroy the vine. So if I had to leave with something, it would be that. Pay attention to the little things. You know, don't just overlook it and say, that's so small. That won't keep me out. It will. And it can. Something like a piece of lint in your pocket is big enough to keep you from the presence of God.
Amen. Shoot. You about to have me over here crying like you. That is deep.
Yeah.
That's deep.
And I haven't forgotten. That dream is probably 30 years old now. And I have never forgotten it.
Well, I appreciate you, Shonda. And of course, this is the Prodigal Son podcast. Let's dominate.
And if it's after God, then you know I'm chasing. I'm trying to dominate life like them Bible stories. If you ain't die on the cross, you're not an idol for me. Strong faith and prayer life, man, that's vital.